Yo guys, welcome to the podcast. And we are the four of us that sat here. Go on, what's your name?
My name's Alex.
Interesting.
Honor.
Interesting.
Calum.
Interesting. And essentially we're just gonna chat shit for about
2 days.
30 minutes, an hour or something. We're gonna see what
Something.
happens.
Yeah.
The topic of conversation, and this is the first time we've filmed a podcast or filmed anything and all been very worried and trying to set limits before pressing record. So I feel like it's going to be an interesting conversation, at least for us anyway. If you guys enjoy it, let us know in the comments. But we're going to talk about relationships. And we're going to talk about past relationships, current relationships, anything goes really. And we get to pick at each other. And we can be brutal with it. We've all kind of accepted that we'll be brutal with it. But at the same time, obviously not disrespecting or name dropping any names. I hope you guys can appreciate that, because obviously it's not a very nice thing to do. But we can still dig out some dirty memories. Not in the... Anyway. Strange tone there. There's going to be no cuts in all these podcasts. We don't cut anything unless it's like absolutely we have to cut it. But realistically, the rest of this podcast is going to be unfiltered, uncut. Maybe some bleeps here and there.
Yeah, in case we say or.
Bro.
But yeah.
Oh, you all got drinks?
Yeah, I did say.
I
Did
did
you
say. Did you want to?
Bro,
No,
I
we
totally,
can't.
I totally need a drink
You're
if
a
we're
better
talking about
person.
relationship. I'll get a drink. Quick. Hang on.
No,
I
right.
came prepared.
We might have to make a cut here.
No,
Yeah.
you didn't.
Yes.
He's got... You don't have to make a cut. It was quick enough.
I
You guys
didn't-
are bored.
I didn't plan that. I didn't plan it.
You've
Let's
taken
see.
the picture down now, so
What?
it looks a little bit... I
I didn't.
Mate, you had this plan.
He's missed it as well.
Anyone else want a JD?
I will after my tea, yeah.
All right, no
Yes,
worries. There's some ice here if you want.
Brilliant,
Thanks,
thank
man,
you.
appreciate
In our table freezer.
All right,
There's
let's
only
get
2 more glasses. Though.
let's get cracking.
Alright, so relationships. Yeah, you all said it. I'll start off, no problem. Here's a question for everyone to answer. Everyone has to answer this.
Okay.
Alright?
Yeah.
What's your worst, top of your head as well? What's the worst memory you can remember from a relationship? Go, Calum.
Oh,
What or one of the
being
worst?
cheated on.
Oh, that's
Yeah, but that's quite
Gonna drink that.
no. It's not like I've no hard feelings or anything, because it just wasn't meant to be, and it was like neither of us were taking the relationship serious.
Okay.
So it's just the kind of thing of just like, oh, that was a bit. It wasn't a nice situation, but it wasn't like a bad, like, evil thing to have done. It was just, right, this isn't going to work out, so let's just.
how old were you?
I was
God, I
like.
feel like his therapist. How old were you?
Oh, I was like, I was like 16.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Like, it wasn't a serious relationship at all, but it was just like not a pleasant
Yeah.
thing. But yeah.
Fair play.
No, it wasn't. No, don't make it a bad thing.
No, I'm not.
Are you
I'm
okay?
not. Can I ask another question?
No.
Okay. How many times? How many times? And in how many relationships have you been cheated on?
Just the once.
Just
yeah,
that once.
Yeah.
That you know of.
Well, yeah. Oh, right. Now
That's
I'm
the
paranoid.
thing.
Apparently, you'll be fine. Babe.
I can't really think of like a worse memory because it was never like. There was never anything like really good or really bad. It was just kind of like. Plain sailing.
Between
like,
it, how many
all the
relationships
way.
have you been in?
One. Before you.
Okay.
Well, like one proper. You always have those like relationships when you were like 16 and like 15 that you don't
It's a bit
really
more fling,
count.
exactly.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
give you that.
It was like,
Well, what's
oh
your worst
yeah,
memory
we
then?
like you. Probably when he was out with his ex.
He. Okay.
Yeah.
Good start.
Yeah, good save, yeah.
He was out with his ex and just like didn't message me like the whole time, and I was just like, what is happening?
That's weird.
And then it was like downhill from there. That was like a bad
That's weird.
memory because it was just like, oh, this is shit.
So does it count as cheating, or is it just
No.
like shady
Oh,
behaviour? We'll put it in the shade.
Yeah, shade.
In the shade.
In the shade it goes.
Right.
Over there.
Alex, go on.
Same answer kind of as Calum, I guess, like cheating. I'm sure like we've all experienced some sort of something similar to that.
That's a good point, though. Like, what do we classify as cheating?
That's a good point. Yeah, you should clarify.
I think it's being in a relationship. Like you're in it, as far as you're concerned, you're in a relationship where you're like loyal to each other, and then one of you goes behind the other one's backs and sleeps with someone. I don't think there's grounds in which it's okay in a relationship where like you're both obviously saying this is a good relationship, we're okay. I think there's always dark periods in relationships where it's coming to an end anyway, or at the very start when it's not really serious yet, where I don't think that really counts as much.
Yeah.
But I think once you're in that relationship and you are in some way like liable to that person and they are to you, especially if you live together, you've got kids or something.
It's like Facebook official kind of thing.
Yeah, once your relationship's there,
on Facebook. It's bizarre though, isn't it? Like relationships though, if you think about it, because like we have multiple friendships. Like
It's true.
you wouldn't be offended if I was friends with Ryan, and then
But you're not though, obviously.
yeah, no, I'm just saying hypothetically.
It's
just me and you.
Yeah.
But like, let's say I was friends with Ryan.
Yeah.
Like
Hypothetically.
we can also be friends. Like
It's true. There is. We speak about this quite a lot. What's it called? It's not polyester. What is it
But
called?
I agree with you. I think it's
Polyamorous.
odd. I think it's weird. But I'm very much like one person, one relationship. But it is just
It's
weird that
some
that has
people-
become like the
I
social
know.
norm in a way.
Yeah.
Well, monogamy's
true.
actually become the social norm but nature implies that the males will go around sleeping with as many women so that they could breed. Like that's the natural state. And then monogamy is a very human thing of just you pair for life. Although there are some species like penguins and stuff that will pair for life, but it's
Penguins.
penguins. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're touching on a good point. What values do you think should be held in a monogamous relationship and in a what's it called? Polyamorous. Right? I think polyester every time. Polyamorous. Because for me, I totally understand a polyamorous relationship, and I can understand people being happy in a polyester relationship. I can understand that. Like, and I'm not putting it down anyway. Like, it's just not for me. But I can completely get.
I agree with you. At the end of the day,
Good.
whatever makes you happy at the end of the day, and if that works for someone, then fine. I don't think I could personally work.
But what do you think the values are? Like for monogamy, I don't think we're not polyamorous, so I don't think we should speak on that. But like for monogamous people who want just one person that they love forever, boy, girl, 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 boy, boy, whatever it is, what do you think? What do you think the values that should be held? Like for you personally, what do you think should be held like accountable?
Like what's the priority or?
No, just what's the values? Like, what are the things that you think make that relationship a good relationship, or make it a relationship where it is coming to an end and where cheating is less of a, oh my god, they cheated on me. It's more of a, they probably
communication. That's
yeah,
the top
communication.
thing. Yeah, if you can communicate, like even in that situation that I was talking about, like if she had just gone, oh by the way, I did this, I'm really sorry, right after like the night, it would have been a lot less sort of like, oh right, okay, because it's just honest, and I really like honesty. So communication and honesty would be my top two.
I think communication is still too vague though. I think if you split communication into a few pieces, like where do you think, like at the start of a relationship, you find any reason to have idle conversation with the other person. Like it could literally just be, how's your day? What have you done? Oh my god, it's so interesting that your homework's late. Well,
it doesn't matter
not
what you're
that
talking
I date
about.
people recently.
Clear that up.
Just swipe that way. But as in, you know what I mean? Like, how was your work? Oh my god, no way! Did thingy bring a puppy into work? That's incredible.
I know what you mean.
At the
Like
start of a relationship, that's interesting.
Finding that common ground where you can just talk about anything. It doesn't matter what the topic is.
I think when it goes back to that is when you know something's wrong. I think like
as you go ran out of conversations.
Yeah, it's you're almost trying to find a way to speak to them. There's like a barrier. There's like an unspoken barrier that you go past where it's like you no longer need to have those bullshit conversations. You still have them here and there, but you talk about more like proactive things or interesting things, hopefully if a relationship's good. Or you tried that, it ended up in arguments, ends up in conflicts, ends up in you finding that you're interested in different things, and then it goes back to, oh, but how was the puppy from work? And then you can kind of see it go downhill. And some people stay in that zone for a long time, don't they?
Yeah.
Question for Alex.
Oh god.
When do you think you broke through that barrier of like starting to like fart around your girlfriend and do all that?
Oh,
like,
for you,
was that-
for those of you who
for-
don't know, he's an amazing
gasser.
farter.
Right, like
Yeah.
I've always been able to just fart on command. Legit, like I can do one now, but
No.
can I do that?
No.
Like no, I need to prove a point to just like show that I can do
think we
it.
believe
So I'm
you.
gonna do it once, and then like everyone.
No, you're not.
I can fart on command, bro. I can just do it. Literally,
No, you're
like
on command.
yeah, like if someone's there, like, can you do a fart for me? I need to laugh. I'm just like, all right.
That's bad.
I'm a bit embarrassed about that, but at the same time, very proud of
That's
it.
funny,
Yeah.
When was that barrier broken for you, like in your relationship?
I don't believe it.
I've had a couple of relationships, and I'd say I probably had like 3 serious relationships, and I've only been able to fart in front of one of them.
That's such a weird thing to say, but I totally get you.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a weird thing. Like there's.
Without dropping names, who's the one that you could fart in front of?
Yeah, what's her name?
Oh well. I had a girlfriend for like 3 years, and we worked a lot in very small proximities. So we lived together like in very small spaces, and it just got to the point where we would just share a bathroom.
It's like you worked in an escape room or something.
Yeah, I worked on a cruise ship.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you're just around each other all the time, and you share like a very close proximity. So it got to the point where we would just like take a shit with the door open, sort of thing. And it just wasn't weird. I don't know. Like it takes a while, yeah, because like when you first start a new relationship, you want everything to be amazing, and you kind of make out in a way like that you're someone you're not. Sometimes, like you want to show your best case.
Yeah.
So things like if you were to fart. Like wouldn't necessarily sell yourself. Yeah. Whereas now, like I'm much more relaxed. Like my current girlfriend at the moment, I think I farted like on our third date. Just because I think as well, actually, I lit a candle and I was like, watch this, and I like farted into the candle and it made it. You were there. You were there.
I remember this. That was impressive. He didn't even, on the first attempt it didn't go quite well, so he tried again.
The first one for me was more embarrassing. The fact that I tried it and it didn't work, that was like a.
So you're like, okay,
this is
I've got to
weird.
prove myself now.
But no, I don't know. Like, and then I've had a girlfriend before where I just felt like I could never do that. But then I think that's a problem for me because I like that's just what I do, and I think it is funny. I don't have a problem with farting unless it stinks or you shit yourself. My farts don't smell. They're just comical. Like my farts are pure comical.
This is a different podcast now.
Yeah.
My farts are comical and they don't normally smell. Like no one smelt that.
No.
Because it's just funny. You're pissing yourself.
Alright.
And this one girl, I just couldn't fart in front of her, which like it didn't realise it at the time. But I think looking back at it now, it's actually a big deal because I wasn't able to be myself. So I was being someone that I wasn't.
Yeah.
And not just to do with farting,
yeah.
but in all aspects of the
Do
relationship.
you know what? I agree that that's touched on the values thing, and we need to come back to that. But I also am interested in asking you the same question. Do you think it's appropriate to fart around? I feel like it's different as a girl, but like, do you think it's appropriate to fart around a guy?
No.
But why though? Like
Not like appropriate. I just think it's like not very appealing.
not very ladylike.
Yeah. Well, not ladylike. I just think like it's not very like you'd be like, that's not very attractive, is it?
Yeah, but do you know what? Like, I feel
it
like
brings you down.
if it was on, and this is what is weird. It comes back to the values thing, and like I think we're gonna end up kind of full circle to that. But if we were on our first few dates and you did, I'd be like, sets a precedence to be like, is this girl like a little bit like.
Yeah.
Not like ill-mannered, but it's kind of like a mannerism thing, maybe, to me, in some ways.
I think if
But-
girls fart in the right context, then it's absolutely fine.
Yeah, if you farted now,
totally.
there's not one bit of me that go, can't believe that she farts. Like, there's not one bit of me that would ever think that. I think there's just, if you're on the first date and you've literally sat down, it's like, right, well, we have the starters.
Yeah, I know, I get that, but then I wouldn't do that either.
I know,
Yeah.
but
But I could
do you know
fart
what
by
I'm
the
saying?
third date because I had realised like the kind of dynamic that we had.
Yeah, that's what we need to get back
Yeah,
to. We need to
cool.
get back to, like, where do we establish that dynamic? For me, I'm in the same boat. I feel like you can hold a fart in the same way you can hold in, like, most things. Like, even swearing to some extent, I think can be, like, around certain people is a little bit obnoxious
Yeah.
and should be tamed to some extent. I mean, it's the same with farts. It just depends on your company.
Yeah,
Oh, don't get me wrong. Like, there's times where I won't fart because I know obviously
That's
it's
what
not
I
like
mean.
socially acceptable. But if I think it will add like a funny moment to something, then definitely,
Then I'll
Yeah.
fart.
then I'll fart.
Go on, what about you?
My
Farting in
thoughts on
relationships?
farts. I mean, farting's completely natural, so I don't really have.
Do you
much
fart
on-
around your girlfriend?
If I need to fart. then
That's
yeah.
a no then. That's a no.
Fart's a weird word, isn't it?
Yeah,
like if your girlfriend was here, would you like fart?
If I fart, I fart. Like,
What would
it's-
she do though?
She wouldn't give a shit.
Mate, fart is messing with my head, bro. The word fart and the idea of it is
Yeah.
proper messing with me.
No, it's
Oh,
completely
shit.
natural. I don't think it would bother either of us, to be fair. Like, if she went out of her way to be like, hey, listen to this, well, to be fair, it would be kind of funny.
That's what I mean.
But,
Weird,
like,
isn't it?
it would, it's only because we've got that dynamic of, like, I know her humour, she knows mine, that she knows I'd laugh at that. Whereas if I had met her for the first time, she's like, hey, laugh at, like, here's a fart, I'd be like,
It's a bold move.
You'd
Yeah.
either fall in
yeah.
love straight away and be like, wow, you're bold. or you'd be
Literally,
like,
yeah.
that's a bit gross. But yeah,
Yeah.
the values thing, because that is interesting. Like, why is it? Because like not saying I've been in multiple relationships, but when you're in when you've been in multiple relationships, you know these barriers are so different, like within different relationships,
Yeah,
aren't
that's
they?
true.
In some relationships, it's like straight away they're all gone,
Mm.
or like with you, like what you said a minute ago with your current girlfriend. But in some of them, like sometimes some of the barriers are never crossed or never like not crossed, but like never gained. I feel like barriers in relationships are things you gain. Like
Yeah,
you
keep
don't
passing through the next
Yeah,
one.
yeah, and then
Yeah,
once you've got it, you're in this new realm of like openness and transparency. And like in some relationships, where if the other person is uptight or you're the uptight one, you become like a more like compressing character in your relationship, and you like compress the relationship so it's got these boundaries that you can't. That where like if you want to fart, you then start going, I want to fart, but she doesn't like when I do it, and I'm a bit stressed now.
Yeah,
and
I
there's a million layers, isn't there, of
Yeah.
those things. Like even just like slurping your tea and stuff. There's some people that find that annoying and will like raise it every time.
It's a horrible habit. I can't even say that joke.
I like you.
Is there something weird that you've done with your exes, like really weird that you haven't done with me, or like something that's like you think like, oh, most people wouldn't think that was funny?
I think
Or, like,
I reckon you're gonna say the same. Only because I know you a lot better. I haven't known Calum as long, and I've known you in different relationships as well. My precedence in a relationship is that I will not change. Like I'll be in that relationship, and I will be who I am, and I won't change unless I see a good like reason for both of us that I should.
Mm.
Like I always thought in my early relationships, I was open to be like. Sometimes it's tricky for like. Sometimes I want to get my own way. Like when I was younger, like I think just as a dude, and you got this high levels of testosterone, you're kind of like, I'm a dude, and things should be done my way. Blah blah blah. Some guys have that, and I definitely had that when I was younger.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, I've realised you can't do that if you want a good relationship. You have to see things from all angles.
Compromise sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think my last few years of relationships have always like I don't think there's anything different from my end, at least, except for the fact I'm a lot happier now, obviously. So much happier. Alex?
Good save.
What
Joking.
about you?
Yeah, like I don't know really. Well, no, I think I agree with you. Is in terms of like, I've definitely at some point pretended to be someone that I wasn't in a relationship, and I think you even noticed it. You sort of could pick up on the fact that I was a bit
Yeah.
different, and I just think I agree with you. I think it's like very unhealthy to do that, and I've only learned now, or I knew it before, but I kind of like lost that a bit. Maybe going back to like a way of protecting yourself, like when. For example, if something did go, like something gone bad in the past, like cheating, I think you're potentially more likely going to change your next, like who you're with next to protect yourself. And I think I changed a little bit from relationship to relationship. If that is.
Well, like who you aimed for, or just use it?
Well, you try to avoid certain characteristics or something.
I think, like if I to expand on it to make more sense, I was with someone for a long time and I got cheated on. And then I think moving into my relationship after that, I naturally went for someone who I thought was safe in a relationship. So, you know, the type of characteristics that I thought wouldn't cheat on me, if that makes sense.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Wait, so
I get you.
okay, I don't want to hit on like the wrong nerves.
Okay, I'm sorry. I've got a really interesting question.
Go on.
So, do you think you're able to like look at someone and be like, they cheat on someone? Do you reckon there's like a type of person or a type of like certain personality traits that
Characteristics.
once you learn them a bit more, you're like, okay, they're capable of cheating on someone?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I do think anyone is capable of cheating,
Yeah, I
but
agree with that.
it depends on.
I want to touch on that, and I bet everyone's been in this position, guy or girl, where there's some girls who stick to their friendship groups, and they've got like a tight-knit friendship group, and it's normally girls, maybe a guy here and there. And when you hear that stuff in the early days, you go, safe bet. Like, that person's not going to venture outside of that. There's also some girls and some guys who only have guy mates or only have girl mates. You're actually one of those people, aren't you? Well, actually, you have a big mix, don't you, of girls and guy mates, but you have quite a lot of guy mates. And I know that, like, in the past, it's like, they've got a lot of guy mates, they like guy company. There's always some sort of, like, reason for it, not necessarily sexual reasons, but like a reason that they like male company, which means at some point they might not like just your company and they want more guy company. So I know what you mean. Like there can be signs where you're like you could be a cheater, but you definitely can't know.
No, I don't think you can know, but I
hunch.
think you can have more of a guess, more of a hunch
But
about
that
things like
might
that.
just be us assuming, like we might be completely wrong.
Yeah.
For all we know.
I actually prefer it. I prefer, well, like the fact that you've like got guy mates, and I had a girlfriend in the past who had guy mates. They were way better at understanding the male psyche as well. Like for myself, I had quite a lot of girl mates as well, knowing what the female psyche is a little bit more. Because I know it's spoke about as like a men can't understand a woman, or like women move in mysterious ways, and it works both ways. Like we're both just as weird. People are weird, aren't they?
And you have like a really good mate who you actually dated.
Yeah.
And
Really?
like, I don't think that's that weird.
Really?
Like, I'm okay with that. And like, a lot of people would think that's like a little bit weird that you're really good friends.
I reckon
But-
people. I think it's a trust thing. Like I reckon people who get uncomfortable about they're friends with their ex. It's like it doesn't bother me. I'm friends with my ex, but it ended amicably, and my girlfriend
Exactly,
doesn't give a crap because she trusts me. She knows I'd never.
Mhm.
But I reckon if she didn't trust me, that would worry her. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Definitely, and I think it is dependent on, like you said, the situation. Like for me and like that girl, like I've spoke to you about a few times. We both ended on a like we don't work for each other kind of basis, and it was like way back in like college, but we got along really well as friends and just remained friends for all of that time up until I met you. So there's no reason that we like jump back at it. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like there's security in that. If I remain friends with a girl that I'd just broken up with and it was a nasty relationship, it's like I'm trying to cling on to something.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
something's nasty, really, you don't cling on to it. You cut your
Just
ties.
walk away. Yeah.
And then if it happens to flourish again in the future, then maybe you kind of revisit it as a friend or as a whatever, or because you cross paths for some reason. I don't think you should ever close the door completely, unless someone really screws you
Yeah,
over.
this is a reason
That
for
also
it.
leads into another point. Like, when you get into a relationship, do you feel like you have to kind of like cut off or kind of like close doors on
Other people.
like the guys who are my mates? Like, I've slightly not like pushed away, but I've been like more respectful to you by like not being
But I think
like,
it's-
talking to them as much.
I think it touched on other things as well, where it's like you had guy mates and guy company,
Yeah.
whereas now you found a guy
Yeah, I don't.
who can fulfill that guy needs.
But it's not like I wouldn't say it's like the same needs.
No, it's not. But it's like you. I think it's good, how really healthy for both sexes to mix with all kinds of sexes, all kinds of people. Like everyone, by the time they're 20, should have experienced different cultures, races,
Oh, I completely
religious
agree.
like
You
movements.
get such
like,
a different perspective on the world,
Yeah,
which is just so important.
you should experience like all of it, like at least be open to experience it all, because then when it comes to making decisions in friendship groups or like big life-changing decisions, you know you can build the right team around you and have the right mates around you. A lot of people incubate themselves, like from Bristol, I'm from Somerset, well, I'm not from Somerset, never from Somerset, but I've lived in Somerset, and people are very secluded, they live in their village and they don't know anyone else but like some people down the road. Not everyone is Somerset, there's some really cool people there as well, but I've met a few people who've never really left their village or left the county.
Yeah.
They'll never really understand like where you can go beyond with people, because there's some amazing humans from all around the world, from different walks of
Literally.
life, straight, heterosexual, whoever they are and whatever they believe and whatever they want to do. There's some amazing people, and some people, because they come from like a smaller place and haven't gone outside, they think it's strange and won't approach it, and they're missing on all the good stuff.
Isn't that
Which
weird?
is
Like,
cool.
so you guys know I grew up around the world, and I found it really weird if someone, not weird, it was just strange to me if someone lived in one place and then never moved away from that. Like they were born there, they died there. And I've always been envious of that, because they'd have had like friends they'd known from like childhood and whatnot. But that was just like all I knew, and that's all they know. Like they'll never know like.
We're the same. We speak about this a bit. Like me and you both grew up
Yeah.
weird upbringings, like getting brought up in different parts of like countries and like different countries as well. And I'm the same. I don't have anyone that I've known since I was a kid. Like no one I've known. I don't know if you, well, I know you're not the
Yeah.
same.
I've literally lived in the same house my entire life.
That's mad.
Really?
That's so mad.
That's crazy.
Like,
Have you travelled much?
It is London
Yeah.
though, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
And
I think-
like,
I think that's
everyone, like, I come from Fulham, and it's like everyone in Fulham knows each other. But like, I've travelled loads as well.
Yeah.
It's like it's really nice, because I've like known so many people who live in Fulham like my whole life.
But I do also think it's different. Growing up in Fulham, living there your whole life.
Yeah, compared to
Growing up in
Somerset.
Like Somerset,
Newport,
yeah,
Hackney,
Newport.
Newport, Hackney your whole life.
Yeah.
I do think there's a lot
different,
Yeah.
yeah. I
A
know.
bit different, yeah.
Yeah, you'll meet a lot of people in London, like the
Yeah.
buzz of it.
I think that is the thing, is meeting different people, understanding different people's
Views
like,
on life. And
views on life. Like I think it's good to give examples, and like, I can only give examples on my own life. But growing up, like
it's so strange. Like you think back on it, and we probably all had the same thing anyway. But you are different. You're a different person in so many different years. Like you're a part of different friendship groups and like different walks of life with people. Like when I lived in Spain, in Marbella, all my mates were like filthy, stinking rich human beings, and their families were so rich, and like from Saudi wealth to Russian wealth, and like when I went to my mate's house, I was going to a gaff with a Lamborghini outside, and we go in his pool and his trampoline, and we go to Tivoli World with like hundreds of euros in our pockets to buy whatever we wanted if I was with them. And that was what I knew as being around my mates. I then moved to England, and all my mates live in like tiny little houses with 2 beds and like maybe a sofa and a small TV. Well, like some of my mates, and I'd just be like, that's a weird juxtaposition, but it was new and exciting that these houses are smaller. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to like set like categories of like wealth, but it is interesting to see one side and the other side, but not be your perspective. Like you're just looking in on these things. My personal wealth, my family's wealth has pretty much always stayed the same. Yeah. But you see these other things change. Yeah. And it's really good for your brain to get around those things because people still have all the same problems. Like the rich families, they still had massive family problems and like some horrible things going on. Come back here, and then there's like some of my mates who are quite poor, like they don't have a great deal of money, but they have a great family dynamic. Or there's the other ones who have like awful family dynamics, some of the worst like backgrounds I've ever heard of. Yeah. And it's amazing how people always find a way to have issues or have great things going for them, and it's a people thing. Isn't it?
It's a test of character, isn't it? If you can come through the other side with nothing and keep like who you are and stay humble as a person.
Definitely.
What do we think about the like old wives' tale of you grow up from a male's point, you grow up to be in a relationship with someone who's like your mum, and from a female perspective, you grow up to be someone who's like your dad. You know, generically, obviously, there are homosexuals, etc. But as a standard, is that something we all believe in? Like they say, when you grow up, you tend to be in a relationship with a woman who resembles your mum.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I know what you're saying.
That's like Freud's thing.
Yeah.
About loving your mum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My brother, his wife now, he's always said like he's adamant that his wife isn't like our mum, and we will always tell him that she is. And one day he was on Facebook, and Facebook thought that his wife was our mum. It's like,
no way.
Like putting the dots together, being like, "Is this your mum?" And he put it in the family WhatsApp, and we were all like, "We told you."
So funny.
So good.
Oh, that's mad.
It's strange. It's a good point, and I do think it works for a lot of people. But there's always
there's exceptions.
Like I'm not gonna lie, babe, you're not really a great deal like you don't look like my mum. I don't think. You got like maybe similar cheekbones. You don't really look like my mum, but you do. I guess you do have. I do think you're both very, very kind, generous people, and I don't mean that as like a slap in kind of like compliment, because everyone's nice and generous when you speak to their face. But I mean, you're a nice, generous person. I'll happily say that some people, like some of my exes, were not nice, generous people. Like from face value, like from deep down face value, you'd be like, oh, that's a nice person, but really, they wouldn't give a time of day for you. Whereas you generally do, and I think you hold that same thing with my mum, but she's sporty, you're not. Like, I think there's a blurred line. You're not that sporty. but there is a line there, isn't there? Like,
yeah, literally.
I do think you look for similarities, but I think you could ascertain similarities in loads of different things.
But that's the thing, like, there's so many of these statements that are just too general. Like, relationships are complex things, and people are complex things. You can't just actually believe in these general statements. But then saying that, because you guys did a wedding where you filmed, was it an Indian man and a British woman?
Yeah.
I find it weird that that's not common. Like, people tend to like marry and be in relationships within their own culture. I find that odd. But that's just because of my perspective. Like, I know it's not odd, but it's.
I think for. I don't know. I mean, you were there, to be fair, but I don't think people. I don't think people find it weird. Like, I don't think there's anything weird about being with someone in another culture or anything like that.
I don't think there is either.
There's nothing weird about it, but you can definitely understand how if someone's not been brought up around that culture, it's going to be an alien thing to them, and they're not going to necessarily find comfort in that. So it might make a lot of sense that an English person would be with an English person. Sorry guys, there was a little cut in the camera. It cuts out at 30 minutes. We didn't realise that. We're going to work on that. Anyway, but yeah, when you're like in this day and age, when you're finding a girl, you can, or a guy, whoever, you can test the waters without breaching any like comfort barriers, and I think that when it actually comes to you meeting the person, it's a lot easier to gauge what's going on, and I think you could understand almost immediately if you could fight in front of them or if you could do things like that. You've probably already figured that out on FaceTime calls or whatever, where it's like easier. But I still think once you're with them, there's some barriers that you can't get past until you've met someone and gotten to, well, you know, first, second, third base, and then also to a stage where you're looking at maybe living with this person, or like you think about your day and how it affects that person. What common barriers do you think there are that most people stumble over?
I think people underestimate living with someone. Like, I know my mum, she's been divorced before, and the first serious relationship he had, they moved in together really quickly because he was in the army and he had to go away, and he was like, "Are you coming?" And she was like, "Okay." She was like 19, and they moved in together straight away, and that was a massive jump. And I think it's something that it's underrated.
Yeah, it's a make or break situation, living together, I think.
I feel like that's like with us, like with this whole lockdown thing.
Yeah, it's about 2 months, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I don't feel like it's been that intense.
No, it's been like really easy.
Yeah.
Like I said, babe, we're together forever. So.
Loads of people have been saying they're loving lockdown. Like, it's making or breaking relationships.
I was going to say there is the other side that are saying they absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
Like it's
Want to get out of it.
There's always two sides.
It's true. I think we spoke about this before when we went skiing together. A stressful holiday is like one of the before you.
Oh yeah, holiday is one of the best ways to tell
To test
if
the
you're and a friendship. Just any type of relationship. If you think it's not going to last, just go on holiday together.
Yeah.
And you'll soon work out.
But not like a go to a spa in like.
No, go on a
Paris.
testing holiday, like an adventure holiday.
Yeah, like skiing.
When the
like
going
really
gets
good
tough,
one.
that's when you like really learn about someone.
Because skiing's
100%.
fun, but also well stressful. If you look at the negatives, like I'm cold, my feet are cramped, all of this, and you're with the wrong person, they'll take those negatives and they'll send them to 100% and deliberately want to make your time shit because they're feeling that way. And I think that's a good analogy for what could happen later in a relationship.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that skiing is like
it's a red flag though. Yeah,
it is a red flag. Whereas there's some relationships that will prosper in those like, oh, my feet hurt, it's jokes, but let's keep going. Like, there's that kind of attitude as well. So holiday, and living together definitely. I think as like quite traumatic for a lot of people, innit? Because you move into I know quite a few people have been in relationships and they're stuck in an apartment.
Yeah, and that's the main thing as well. Yeah,
and
I think there's a sense of embarrassment, or not embarrassment, maybe is the right word, but like that you don't want the relationship to fail, so you keep pushing through for something because you're like, we decided on this, I want to stick to it, and you kind of put yourself in a position where you want to make it work, but even like to save your dignity, I guess.
What do we on that point? What do we think of like ultimatums then?
What do you mean?
Like when you're given, all right, you're either going to do this or I'm leaving.
I don't think like ultimatums in a relationship are ever a good thing.
I think they're really unhealthy.
Yeah, I don't think, and like if someone was to come to me and be like, if you don't do that, we're not together.
Yeah.
As long as it's not ridiculous.
Yeah. It's almost like you have to change or I'm out.
Exactly.
Like, right,
if like I think as soon as someone tells you to change, it's like, well, this relationship's not going to work then.
I think it depends on like the tonality of it. I think if someone says like if someone says you're going to stop seeing that person, or that person's going to stop coming around the house because they annoy me, or I'm out, I'd be like, you're fucking out then. Like, that's it. But if someone said, like, you're going to start doing the washing up or I'm out, I'd be like, all right, fair. Like,
I get what you mean.
Like,
I think it's a testament of their character. Like, if they're willing to leave just because you're not doing the dishes, I mean, that's well, you've made that such a big deal.
But those are genuine. Like, in the even in the band, like, they were massive problems. Like,
they are, but like, it's a conversation. It's not do this or I'm leaving. It should just be a...
But some people...
but you have to also think of the back context, like how have you pushed that person to get to that stage?
For that to be annoying for them,
yeah.
you must be a real burden.
Yeah.
Like, and
that's
that,
a good point.
that I know that firsthand. We all know that firsthand. How annoying it is for people to have small behavioural things that they just maybe didn't learn when they're growing up at home, or had a mum do it for them or something, and when it comes to them living with you, or dad, and it becomes a massive problem. Like, such a little thing, like, just do your dishes, like, stay a little bit clean and tidy. I know that like I badger you a little bit, and you badger me, to be fair, about the room and stuff. It's like, come on, we're not tramps, like, we don't need to leave bowls and stuff out, like, because we're brought up that way. But there are some people who will just be like, it'll get done, like, someone will do it. And if I was living with someone like that, I'd go mental. I'd kick them straight out.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Which is like tricky, because that is a petty thing, but I do think needs an ultimatum. Like, you should say to someone, if you don't buck up your ideas and start becoming like hygienic and all these things, then I'm out. Like, I'm gonna
But
leave.
I think there's a stage before it of communication of being like, you're not doing dishes much. Would you mind doing it more? And if they then don't
There
do
is.
it, then it's like, okay, well, you need to do it, or I'm leaving.
But I think there's certain habitual things that won't change in people. Some people just won't change, but eventually they need an ultimatum.
Do you reckon
To-
some people just
to
can't
change.
change?
Yeah, definitely. I think some people are so stuck in their ways and will not budge no matter what's dangled in front of them.
Yeah.
Like dangle £1 million in front of some people, and they just be like,
It's the way you're
Yeah.
programmed, isn't it? It takes a long time to have develop a habit.
it
Yeah.
is. Something like 70 days or something in it.
That
to
you
repeat
can't
it.
break, yeah.
Yeah, but I think so. What did we say? Like in terms of barriers, we had moving in together,
Holidays.
holidays.
Yeah, it's a strong one.
Well, I think awkward moments. How we deal with awkward moments is a big one, especially in the
Non-car
first few
journeys.
days. Yeah,
Oh,
like
car journeys.
car journeys are good. Yeah, or like a date, or walking to the station, or on the tube. Like
Yeah.
those kind of moments and how you deal with those. Like I've definitely been in situations where it's like, Jesus Christ, like you're like a brick wall. And I'm sure we've all been in them. but sometimes
Put the
you're in,
radio on.
yeah, exactly. But sometimes you're in them, and you're like, the conversation we're having is awkward. We're both trying though, and that.
Oh, as soon
makes
as you
it
have to
work.
try for a conversation, I think that's it. The relationship's over.
Yeah, no. But as in like you're not as in you're trying and they're not giving, but you're both like you're talking. If you took yourself out of the context, you went third person for a sec, you'd be like, you're both chatting shit. Like what you're saying, you don't really care about, but you're really caring about trying to speak to each other and communicate. And I think that's a really valuable asset
Yeah,
because
I agree.
if someone doesn't know you, it's hard for them to come across as like this deep, authentic person that knows all of these things that you're interested in. They're trying to get to know you though, and that's a valuable asset.
Yeah.
And I think that's something me and you did the first night we met. We spent like 6-7 hours on the sofa
Just
chatting
talking.
bollocks. I genuinely can't remember a lot of it,
No.
but I can remember some highlights. And I know that the fact we did for 6-7 hours talk means that means that
What do you guys talk about?
we talk quite a lot, but it means that I knew that the relationship would probably be interesting because we both want to try it from our ends.
Yeah, no, I get
And I
that.
don't know if you guys have had experience where you've genuinely had a brick wall in front of you. Like it's so
mate,
hard.
I had
Oh,
a
ma-
really
maybe-
weird date.
How do you deal with
Yeah,
that
no,
situation?
I wouldn't say I've ever had that in a relationship. I've definitely had that on dates and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
date-
Everyone's
do you
got
deal with it?
weirdest dates. Weirdest
Oh
dates.
my
Yeah,
god,
weirdest
I've got
dates.
the
Good.
weirdest
I've
date
got
story.
one.
So I was meeting this girl in London who I met on a train, and we were just chatting, and then it turns out we were both in London the next week, so we decided to meet up. Met up, went out, seemed to be getting on, I thought. She was a little bit hard to talk to, but then maybe I was as well, I don't know. And I spent most of my evening with her. We spent about 5 hours together, and then we were like, let's go to the tube. We hadn't decided where we were going. So we were going down towards the tube. I got on the tube and was like about to turn around to start talking to her again, and she just stood there and let the doors close in front of her, and the tube, and I was just on the tube, and then she just shut, and she was just like, she just waved goodbye, and I just
What
went,
on
and I was
earth?
like, did that just happen? Like, it was like out of a movie, and I was like,
That's
so I just spent 5
bizarre.
hours with this girl, and like just that was it,
She
gone.
didn't even say
Wait, what?
that.
Was it
No,
good?
she was just there. I thought she had forgotten, like went to get on and couldn't because someone was there, and then like the look in her eye and the cheeky like, I was like, oh okay,
Wait,
That's a
you're a
were you having good
dickhead.
conversations before that though.
I wouldn't say it was amazing, but like it was definitely not enough to warrant see ya.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like she could have just
Did
been
you-
like, that's the end of the
did you
night.
fart,
Like
though?
I didn't fart. No, maybe I should have. That's where I went wrong. I should have went. Wait.
Maybe she needed a fart. That's what she got off.
Uh,
Fucking hell.
Oh,
that's
man.
so cheeky though. I couldn't imagine. Like I was just.
Yeah,
Even a
that's
guy
pretty
next to me was like, that was a bit weird, wasn't it? I was like, yeah.
That's
Jeez.
so weird.
Weirdest date.
Weirdest date. I want
Most
to hear
awkward.
yours first. I'm trying to think. of
Oh,
awkward
mine
moments.
was
Awkward
so it was the
moments.
first date. She was this sort of German girl. She loved like art and stuff, and I know, weird, right? Us guys. And she was really into makeup and doing all this eye stuff. She was fascinated by eyes. It was like obsessed with eyes. So she took like a good 2 minutes of just looking into my eyes. I was like, this is
What, not saying anything.
not saying anything. I was like, this is really weird. And I was like, anyway, so and
Where did you meet her? Sorry.
in Cambridge. So it was just
Right.
like we just literally spent the whole entire night just walking around
But like,
Cambridge.
where did you meet her? Like originally, like.
Oh, that
online
was
or
through
something?
like I think it was like the week before we went out clubbing, and
Okay.
she was just there, and we got each other's numbers, and
Oh,
we was like,
okay.
fuck it, this will be alright.
Yeah.
And then we were walking around, and we got talking about, because we were in this like old rundown bit of Cambridge, and we got talking about ghosts and stuff, and she was like, yeah, no, I can see ghosts. I was just like,
God.
Oh, that's the end then.
what? And she was like, yeah, I see my granddad sometimes. And I'm like, what is going on? It was really weird. It was bizarre. Like, it was uncomfortable.
That's weird.
Oh.
Yeah, it wasn't nice.
We should have a whole nother
How did,
podcast about ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
probably.
did that end the date?
Not well.
Calum's the type of guy that I bet he's dated some quirky people.
Yeah.
Like, just
fair
really
few.
quirky.
Yeah.
What would you say is like? Do you think people have a type?
No, I don't think so. I think having a type is limiting yourself to like who.
No, but it's not. What do you think? It's, do you think people have a type?
I think people think they have a type, but I don't think they do.
Would you say you have a type?
No.
No.
I think people definitely have a type. I just think the category of that type is, like, I know some people that could never, ever date Alex. Like, never. They couldn't stand him. And he's therefore out of their type. The same for you with other people I know as well. I'd be like, you would never date them.
Okay. No. Yeah. No.
So
I agree with
I think
that,
there is,
actually,
like,
yeah.
some sort of type.
Sorry, I just want to go back to that. Why wouldn't people?
You're mental.
Yeah, but I'm subtly mental.
You are slightly mental because you're switched on.
I can just
You
whack
choose
it
to be
out.
mental.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
true.
it's
I
true.
agree, but you are also like, I don't know, you just, there's a vibe with you, and it's like you're like that chipmunk from not the chipmunk, the squirrel from Over the Hedge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Everything for you
Hammy.
is in slow motion. You're like
Yeah, I
way
know.
ahead of
I know what you mean. Yeah.
But no, I think a type is definitely a genuine thing, which is maybe the
Yeah.
next topic. But awkward date, babe, awkward date, go.
You
Awkward
did
moment.
your
Oh no, wait,
awkward
I know
date.
yours. You
Was
said
it yours?
Go on.
Oh, so
Go
funny.
on.
No, okay. Mine.
What was mine? What do you think mine was?
It is. You just said because we're gonna kill time on the podcast because I can't remember exactly what it is, but I know you met someone and it was like really weird and they were a bit like over the top and trying to like get on you and stuff.
It was such a weird day.
Go on, explain.
Oh.
Hello.
I'll get that. You explain.
It was like, it wasn't like weird or awkward. It was one of those things where it was like so intense, and it was like, oh my god, I need to get out. And it was like, so we'd met on Tinder, and this is just before I started my Tinder project, and like, which was like, I converted my Tinder into like a project, so I wasn't actually using it, but this was before. And this guy, he like, we decided to like meet up and go on a date, and he was like, okay, cool, like meet me at this place, and we met at this place, and he was like, this is my house, we're going inside, like time of day, and I was like, okay. And he like lied about his whole life. Like we chatted like a little bit before, and he'd lied about everything. Like it wasn't his house or anything. Like he didn't even live in London. Like, and he'd like set up this whole thing. Like he told me he worked in this place and like things like this, but he didn't work there at all.
What was the
I
place
mean,
you said you worked in?
Like I don't know, some like office like business thing, or like he just said.
Oh, the
that
one you mean the one whose Instagram is literally him with like fast cars so
yeah,
every
and
other
it's
week,
nothing.
and he's like, look at my new
You got at
Lambo.
this thing. No. Like you got at this thing like being like, oh, did you go on a date with him because he has like fast cars and has a good job and stuff? And it was like, it wasn't like that at all. But like he set out a life that was like, he was like, he'd just like finished uni. He was like in a good place, like with stuff. Like he lived in London. I was like, cool, all convenient things, like exactly the same as me. But it wasn't. He was like way older. He
What?
worked in Cambridge.
How bizarre.
Like,
Oh,
it
that
was
sounds-
very
So do you think he
weird.
picked the things that he thought you would like?
Yeah, probably. Or
Yeah.
like
Well, I
set
think
out. like,
it's a guilty thing. I think a lot of people are guilty of that nowadays, using their social proof as
yeah.
like a way of like. I know so many little bastards who like go around London taking pictures of cars, going or like literally will be like, "Oh lads, get this picture of me quick," and we'll sit on the hood of a car and be like, "New Beamer," and like shit like that, or
Yeah,
like
like,
look
the
at my
thing
gaff,
is,
and just to get girls.
The thing is, like, you could. It wasn't like the cars thing. You could tell it wasn't really his cars.
Yeah, but
and
you got to
stuff.
admit there is an element of like if someone portrays a successful lifestyle, it's attractive. Not
Yeah,
because
no, I
you
get
want,
that,
not because
yeah.
you want their materialistic stuff.
Yeah.
You're a kind of person that gets shit done and you're successful.
Yeah.
And I respect
Yeah.
that. And I think maybe materialism was another thing.
But it was like very weird. It was. He was like really kind of not like forceful, but like was really intense very quick and wanted like a lot of things and was like,
Bizarre.
okay, now like we're getting into a relationship, and I was like,
What?
literally we've just met kind of thing. Like
His name wasn't Connor, was it?
So
Sorry, Colin.
This is out Connor.
Sorry, Connor.
He's not
If you watch all of this, it's just for that one day.
Just want to make sure you watched it. Oh, let's have a JD.
Oh, good shout.
Yeah,
Go on.
yeah,
Awkward.
you say, please.
Awkward
Can I put yours in your tea? Because
In
we've
there,
only
yeah.
got
Yeah, go for
we've only got two more
I'm
glasses.
just gonna keep it rolling because we are on
Yeah.
film as well. But
That was it's just it was really weird. It was like all fake, and it was like he was not a nice person at all. Like
Yeah.
not nice. Like other than the facts, like he sat this like fake lifestyle and like fake life. Like he wasn't a nice person. Yeah.
Okay.
Struggling here. Keep talking.
Fake
Yeah,
people.
no.
Yeah, so that's just interesting how it's really bugging me how you're trying to get that out with your finger. It's just not happening for you. There you go.
It's proved us all.
Right, awkward moment. Myself, definitely had some weird ones. I'd say one of the biggest ones was when I got to a place and I knew what this encounter was meant to lead to and end in. That person was really into it. I got there, was shocked, was very much not into it, and felt trapped for a little while. And this person's
Really?
house, someone was just like, "Oh, I'm just not that guy to be like, sorry,
No, I've never had
leaving."
this.
So you got the
I'll
wrong end.
explain it in more detail afterwards. But it was a very, I felt trapped. Not because like I didn't feel like I was under threat or anything. I just felt like for me to leave, I have to be a dick. That's the only way I could have left.
Yeah.
So I ended up giving an inch and ducking as soon as I could. I knew I had to give something to get out without having.
Giving
it was
an
either-
inch.
It was
Given an inch.
not. It
You
doesn't-
gave her an
Shut
inch to get out.
doesn't mean anything. What it meant is that I had to literally. I just wanted to get out, and I was like, to get out. I have to be an absolute prick to do it. Like, I'd have to be a prick to do it. I felt like I had to be a prick, so I had to kind of like flirt my way out of getting out. So I had to give something, only a little bit, just to get out. And I was young, but that was not necessarily awkward, but it definitely was awkward. It was just very much like, this is one of the worst situations I've ever been in. But not because I was under threat or anything. It was just like the feeling of like, why did I come here and do that? And ever since then, I've never been on another spontaneous Tinder date.
That's a good question. I guess like, do you think Tinder and apps like dating apps are a good way to meet someone?
We met on a date now.
Yeah.
She direct requested me on Raya.
He
And
Instagram
I
messaged me.
then Instagram messaged her.
I don't have a problem with dating apps as long as they're used correctly. I think it's the same with any social media. As
Yeah.
long as it's used as the correct tool.
What do you mean by correct?
I
Because isn't that based on someone's initiative?
yeah, but then not everyone has initiative.
I
I
think
think some people do it for them. Those apps work great, and for other people,
I'd always rather, no offense to you two, I would always rather meet someone naturally.
oh yeah, I agree. But I do think.
But I don't, like I said, like I don't think it's an issue as long as it's used like correctly and
well,
like.
unfortunately, I think dating apps are natural now. I think they're a natural
yeah, it
way.
would be
of
like the
meeting
new
people.
way of going forward. But the bad side to them, in my opinion, and with social medias, etc., is like the glorification of you have to look good, you have to have a good body, you have to do all these things, you have to be successful, which I think it's really harmful to people. But there is something funny. So I find it funny. The couple who it pertains to won't. So we shot a wedding once, and the couple there found each other on Tinder, which is great and all. But the thing that was bizarre is that the wedding was Tinder themed,
Oh Jesus!
and they had all these like paper plates of just Tinder's logo on. And I was like, that's taking it too far for me. Like that was just
Yeah.
that's not. Yeah, that was
I
Bit
would
bizarre.
give
bizarre.
credit to Raya for us.
Instagram.
Yeah, definitely.
So what's you?
Second. You said you say you were talking about. Anyway, that was a straight JD. That was. I
Yeah.
took a large gulp.
Yeah.
Like a gentleman. About dating apps. With dating apps, yeah, because I agree. I think we're going through a phase as a society where dating apps seem like this new phenomenon. They're not. They're fully embedded now. They're a full-on extension of our social realm, and they are completely acceptable. And I see absolutely no issue with them. And I actually think they're a much healthier way of meeting people than the old-fashioned methods. And I think people still live in this world now where you want to meet a girl, you want to get laid, go to a club. Go do it. And likely scenario, here's how one of those nights will most likely go. You get intoxicated, you end up with someone you didn't like, you get in some kind of brawl, some kind of argument, and you end up hurting someone's feelings because you ditched the next morning, or because like the method of meeting that person wasn't like authentic and was just a spontaneous thing that was kind of stupid, and someone's getting hurt in the picture. Not that that happens every time, but that is literally what a club is. It thrives off bringing the opposite sexes or the same sexes together. It depends what the initiative of the club is. That's what those things come into. But dating apps are the same thing, and I think give you a few layers of authenticity to go through first. Because although people do catfish and people do chat shit, you can still gives you the option to jump in and get straight back out if you smell anything wrong. In a club, when you're intoxicated, you get taken advantage of a lot more easy. I'm not saying people don't on dating apps, could definitely do, but I think if you're sensible, you can deal with a dating app a lot more easily to get laid or to meet a girlfriend. Because I think it depends. If you want to go on Tinder to find the best girlfriend, you're probably going to be short-handed a little bit compared to somebody who's going on there to get laid. Or to build your social circle. Like, they can be great for bringing people together. I know some people who've met on dating apps and just become mates, and become really good mates because they had like banter or whatever. And I think it's a healthier environment than a club. But a club's still a healthy environment in some ways. But I think this is better, especially for young people.
What were your
than
intentions
clubs.
of being on a dating app?
That's a good question.
I mean, throughout like time, I've had different intentions. Like, what do you mean when we met?
Yeah.
When we met, I just had Raya on my phone dormant for a long time, like just being dormant, and I'd matched with like people who, like for network purposes, guys and girls, like people who are like makeup artists or like manager of some photography thing. Or
Using
something.
a dating app as a networking service.
No, it is not on Raya.
No,
It's generally got a
yeah.
like social group thing. Like some of these people are like 60, 50, and you just have interesting conversations. Sometimes they can go somewhere. They can be really useful. But for me, it was just dormant there, and then I got notified that you direct requested me. So I didn't go on there to do anything. So for me, Rail was a dormant thing that I'd used before, and hadn't actually gone on there actively to look for anyone. And then your request came through, and I was like, oh, okay, Instagram, check her out. And then I was like, oh, interesting. And then that's where it kind of went. But before then, I definitely think dating apps are really positive things. They're still in their theta stage. Like, they still need to be figured out better. I think at some point dating apps will become this thing where you get to really meet someone, understand who they are. I think a dating app like Tinder would be much better if to actually see them or have the ability to swipe on them or to take conversation to the next level, you have to be able to communicate at some degree. Like whether it's a FaceTime or like a live streaming kind of service where you can see each other face to face. There's no hiding, no bullshit.
That'll
you're just there.
get rid of a lot of issues.
They will get rid of a lot of issues. There'll still be more issues.
That's what Omegle is, isn't it?
It is, but Omegle.
FaceTime roulette.
I know, but Omegle took it a different way. They went quite. It got pornified at one point. It got very strange. But
really,
all right, we're back. The battery died this time. We're back and
good
talking.
first podcast.
It is good. This one. We'll plug the camera into the wall next time and then make sure it doesn't cut out. We're talking about dating apps.
Yes,
we had a
we
conversation between. I've forgotten now. But I do think. I don't know what I said before. It's probably not going to make sense when you put the two things in context. But I think they're healthy things. And like you said off camera, they can be a good way for you to learn how to get used to the opposite sex or the same sex or whatever environment you're thinking to look into. It gives people a good option. Oh, that was it. I think there should be a security settings on Tinder or dating apps that allows you to only be matched if someone agrees to call you or something. Like if someone so that you can't get preyed upon, because there are definitely predators on these apps, and I think that would eradicate some problems if you could have some authentic level of conversation. If someone's that into you and they want to communicate with you, then they'll happily be vulnerable and say, yeah, I'll call you at like this time. You like schedule a call or something. Would maybe be good.
We never spoke before. The
We
first
did
time I ever
speak on
heard
the
your
phone.
voice.
We did speak on the
No,
phone.
the first time I ever heard your voice was when you called me being like, I'm almost there. That was the first time I was like, what?
Oh, we did have a lot of conversation on Instagram, didn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, before
Not actually
someone.
loads. Like we'd only spoken like maybe like a week.
It was quite a bit though. Like it was enough for
Yeah.
me to like kind of understand you, and your
Yeah.
Instagram was quite open. Like it was quite obvious like who you were and stuff. But I think for Tinder, Like unless you take
Yeah.
it to Instagram or something, it would be good that before you can swipe and like create a communication where someone could get in your head and like tie you down, there should be like some kind of layer or a preference that someone can add, so that if they want to use the app in that way, they can use it a bit more security maybe.
I reckon that would scare a lot of people because then you can't like
Maybe.
we were saying earlier where
You can't hide behind
you
the
can-
comfort.
And it's
Yeah,
not
you
like
can-
on the go.
you can be
really.
someone
Like,
you're not, like where
yeah.
you could got time to like, oh, they've said this, so I've got time to like structure an answer, whereas on the
Yeah.
phone you just have to be like, yep, here's my answer.
Yeah.
So I think it would scare a lot of people if you have to call this person the first time.
No, I agree. No, but I don't think everyone should. I think some people should just be able to set it as a preference.
I'd feel on
but-
edge, like, you know, that situation you were saying about that awkward date, like knowing when to leave or like trying to get out of the situation. Like if I was on a call with someone, I'd be like, how do I get out of this?
Well, you could just hang up. Like,
You can
because
always
you,
just
don't
hang
know
up.
this person. The same way you could just
But
swipe
you
left and
feel
swipe
bad.
right.
Like after a while, loads of hanging up. Like I'd feel bad. I'd be like,
Maybe.
I think
I'm
you
not
get
that
numb to
person
it
to be
after
like
a long
horrible.
time.
Yeah. No, maybe
Well,
we'll
that
train
girl
about
who
it.
just on the train, she wouldn't have a problem, would she?
Yeah, she'd love it.
Yeah.
She's like, this app's great.
All right, we did also. I do think it'd be interesting to talk about this as well. We touched on materialism.
Mm.
What because it's quite famously said that like, and it's said about girls, but it's the exact same for guys as well, and for like other kinds of people. Is that if someone seems rich or successful or something, then people are attracted to them. Where that's the premise. Where do we go from there?
I think
What
it's
do
the
we?
traits that come along with it. I can't know.
What do you think is where do you think the barrier to materialism goes? And I'll speak vulnerably for us both, because I know some fans have mentioned this stuff before. But like when me or any of the boys have like, whenever we find out they're in relationships, they accuse like you and the girls. And I'm sure it's the same for like famous girls. Not that road trip was ever famous or that I'm famous or anything. But if you had some kind of clout about you, there's
Clout
there's
chaser.
there's this accusation that you're a clout chaser.
Mm.
And like, is that is there a way of measuring whether that's true? And two, is it wrong to be a clout chaser? Like to a certain degree. To a certain degree,
It's
it's
not
definitely
wrong, but to me, it means your perspective's off. Like I don't think it's actually important to have clout. I don't think it's an important thing. I don't think it's something you should warrant your life by. Like I'm only going to be in a relationship with someone who's got more than 100,000 followers. Like I think that's a really silly mindset. But then again, I don't think chasing numbers is the way to go with life. I don't think, like I was speaking to one of my friends is a human behavioural expert, and they were talking about literally this, about materialistic things and when men chase women with money, which is actually a lot more rare than women chasing men with money, because apparently men find rich and successful women a lot more intimidating than women find successful men.
That's a good point.
So it's a really complex thing that I couldn't really give a generic answer on, but I definitely think I don't think it's important personally. I think everyone's
also if you-
attracted to a certain kind of person, and I'm personally more attracted to someone who's, healthy, slim, whatnot. But I don't. That's not the be all and end all for me. But then again, some people it will be. So I think it's a completely independent thing.
Yeah. All right. What do you think on like materialism in a relationship?
Well, yeah, like I agree with Calum. Like I don't think it's a good thing to gauge why you should be with someone. I think it's...
Is it an attractive quality?
Yeah, I agree with it. It's definitely an attractive quality. And I understand why. It's just like natural, isn't it, to be attracted to someone who is successful and like hardworking.
Mm-hmm.
Because they, at the end of the day, they're nice traits that you'd want to see in yourself.
And I think it's primitive as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Oh, 100%, yeah.
like any animal would go for like the top male, wouldn't they? And if in the way we're seen in
Well,
this,
the top male would win.
exactly, yeah, and that's how we're seen like in today's
Or
society.
female, sorry.
But yeah, it's definitely interesting. It's difficult. It's a very, you can't really judge it in a way. Obviously, it's not as easy as black and white.
It's not, and you touched on that earlier, and I 100% agree. I think every relationship ever is different, has its own issues, like, because people are so complex, and you can't be put into categories. There is no, you're not like just straight and heterosexual, you're not just gay, you're not just bisexual, you're never just a thing. We try and categorize people there and then make assumptions, broad assumptions of stereotypes, but realistically, everyone's got a world of issues, everyone's got a world of pros, everyone's got different inhibitions, there's so many complicated things, and our society is built on all these complicated systems where like it's very hard now to gauge. I think inhibition now is one of the hardest things to gauge, like why someone's with you, what they actually see in you. Used to be a lot simpler, I think. We didn't live in that time, so it's hard for us to speak for it, but it seems that it would have been a lot simpler. I know it was before even like social media. I remember what it was like being in relationships then. Although I was a lot younger, I still remember it. There was only a few things you valued because you could only see a few things. Now you see so many things. Like with me and Honor, there could have been a viral video she was in at some point, and I'd have put that on a pedestal and meeting her and be like, what does this viral video say? Blah, 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 blah. I read into it. Back then, it was just like, you met someone, it was kind of the face value, and it was if you'd heard rumours about them or something, there was like, you could build a story around this person. Now, you could build a million different stories, you hear a million different things. They get this many likes on a photo, what does that mean? Like, man, it's stressful for people to try and like put people into categories and be able to measure whether or not like someone's being materialistic when they're attracted to you, or if they genuinely just like you because of the authentic things, and also the fact that it's just as easy for them to kid you otherwise. Like you could assume it, and they could go, "No, of course it's not. I loved it when we went to this date and did this thing. Like that's what I loved about you. Like it was that you were so open and you cared about my feelings. Nothing to do with the £10 million in your bank account. Like nothing to do with it." And you'd be like,
nothing to do with the 10.46 million bank.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with that. Thanks for the access codes, by the way. That's I do not have £10 million. That's an absolute like just out there assumption.
Just get loads of DM from clout.
Yeah, man. But I think I don't know, man. It's very tricky. I do think if someone's rich, they beg questions. I think if someone's rich, you kind of go, okay.
They become
I'm interested to know
interesting,
why.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested to know why you're rich, and then I'll take it from there. But like, you're already interested because they've got this thing. The same way as if they're pretty, or if they do a backflip on their Instagram, and it's like they do a backflip. Oh, what's that about? There's some kind of interest, and I think materialistic things can definitely be interesting. It's where people then choose to compensate that for, like in the relationship, is if they tolerate being abused or tolerate being manipulated or anything just because they want that money or they want to live in that house or they want the followers that person's got, which I think always becomes apparent. Eventually it gets figured out, but how many years do you lose and how many relationships do you like squander before that becomes apparent is the new kind of like trade-off, isn't it?
Yeah. What I do find interesting about all that is that we as humans label things quite quickly. Like we'll say that person's a gold digger, that is all they are, because labeling things means that we as humans can understand it better. So I think labeling is something we should talk on in like a future podcast or something, because it's quite an interesting, like why do we do that? Because it generalizes every topic, like even politics. You can be like, oh, they're right wing. Now they're a racist or whatever just because they're right wing, but no one's just right wing. Everyone's like got their own world.
Complicated,
yeah, like it's way more complicated
that's
than
kind
we
of
can
what
comprehend.
that's kind of why we wanted to do this podcast, wasn't it? Like we wanted to just talk authentically about stuff, no cuts, no edit, because like, a lot of the stuff we do is polished and like we make stuff, we tell a story. That's what we enjoy doing, that's what we love doing. But something like this puts you in a very vulnerable position, especially when you're slightly intoxicated as well, which we will be for the next one.
Well, fine,
I've got a final question.
Go on.
Do you think someone's family is a big telltale to who they are?
100%,
Yeah,
yes.
massively.
think
Like, I think it's
The
everything.
person is great, but their family is so bad. Do you think that is like a big downfall on their part?
It depends.
There's always,
Depends.
it comes back to that same thing, like there's always miscellaneous people, there's always the anomaly. Like, I'll very quickly say, like, I've told you many times, when I met your family, when I understood who your family were, I was like, wow, this girl's the one. Like, that was the thing that sold it for me. It wasn't like anything about you, really.
You didn't play a factor at all.
Nothing, I just love your mum.
We all love your mum, it's fine.
We do, Flora's great. No, but as in meeting your family was like the final tick. It was
Yeah,
like
I know what you mean.
It was like a wow, your family's great. But also, like, if your family wasn't great, I don't think I'd then be like, this is where I maybe slightly disagree with your point. Like, I don't think it's then a write-off. I think it's then like a, interesting, how did you turn out that way? It begs more questions, but for a different reason. Not because it's materialistic, but because it's like, how did you end up?
Analytic point, just studying them of like in that kind of.
Yeah, like how did you become so? I've got a mate. I think I told you guys about him, but essentially he's a twin, and like they both had very unfortunate circumstances, and one of them has gone one way, and he's gone this other way, and like it's amazing to see how they've dealt with situations very differently.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I don't think a family completely sells it, but it is definitely a warning sign because it can tell you a few things about someone.
Yeah,
What,
no.
what do you think? What made you say it's a huge factor?
I'd say like I'm very family driven myself. Like I've got I'm very lucky to have a nice family, because I know like that not everyone has that opportunity. It's not something that you can just have. It's something that you're born into. And I always like all of my fondest memories and stuff are with them. And like I think for someone else to understand that and like share that and appreciate what they have, it's I don't know. It's quite a big thing for me. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably my most important thing in a relationship. If someone can appreciate life, essentially, that's a really big thing for me. Like appreciating what you've got, who you are. Like I think that's massively important for me. Like if someone thinks I have to have 200 likes on this photo, that's not important to me. If that's where your head's at, you're not the person for me.
I agree, but it does depend. Again, it's tricky, isn't it? Because like, if they're building a business or they're building something, then it is very important.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's always blurred lines and stuff. I do think the family question is probably the most important one we've touched on. There's a lot of things that you can like kind of bend around and like look at from different angles. But I think if someone's comes from an awful background or an awful family background or something, then you
should clarify what we mean by awful, because it.
I think just like bad relationships with their family. Like I've definitely got some friends and some people, some exes who have no relationship with their parents or no relationships with a sibling or someone. I'm like, if you can cut out someone who's your blood, what could you do to me?
Yeah,
no,
I
get
get
that.
that.
I don't know. There are some. Everyone's got quite, complex families.
No, they do. But it's definitely a warning shot. It's like it's a thing where you go or a red flag.
Okay, so it's like ears perk up. I
Yeah.
need to know more about this because it might not be good. But then they might explain it, and you're like, okay, that's fine. Like it's nothing to
And
worry
like you
about.
said, this is like a full circle back to that like washing up thing, like the way that you've been brought up and the way that you've been like accustomed to things.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna pick up things from your parents that are gonna affect. Like,
And that comes back to Calum's point about the wives' tale. Like finding attractive qualities that say your mum or dad has.
Yeah.
And being.
I was thinking of a joke. It comes back to your point about farting.
Oh right, no, like that wives' tale. Like, sounds weird, but like, if your mum has good qualities, then you're gonna grow up being attracted to those qualities. Or if she has bad qualities, you're gonna be like, right, I don't want that. Therefore, I'm not gonna aim for that. Like, parenting and like the way you're brought up to me is like a big deal. It plays a massive role to who you are as a person.
Yeah,
it does.
And
it does. I do think influences are, I think in today's day and age, and again we're that generation that are experiencing all this stuff for the first time, and we are of the age where we're coming out the other side of it. We started our independent lives as the world was becoming this insane thing online, and there was all of these things like opening up, and like the accessibility is just infinite now. We've experienced all of that stuff. The generation below us has kind of like taken the second wave of it, and the generation after will be like the fifth wave of it. Do you know what I mean? Like we've fully seen what it's like to have an upbringing where opportunities just keep extending and becoming mental, and the stressful world we live in, the social dynamics are all over the place.
Which is what makes like this lockdown incredible, because it's, well, I mean, it depends on what you're going through at the moment, but if you're fortunate enough to not have to worry about anything during lockdown, then everything's just slowed down, and it's like a nice, just relaxing of just, like the world doesn't have to be so like do stuff. It just can just be relaxed, and like, it's quite a nice state to be in.
But I think before, if you had a bad family, your only real influence was most likely your family, because you didn't have a lot of access to other things. Whereas now, you could probably come from a bad family or a bad relationship, bad friendship group, but you've got so many other influences through social media or through just being able to communicate with other people or seeing different dynamics, or like, I even think things like documentaries, for me, was a huge thing that shaped my character. When I grew up, I choose to watch documentaries rather than bullshit reality TV, because I learned something about the real world. And I think that made me a distinguishing character in my family as well, because I did something that they didn't. And I think that could be the same for someone who comes from a bad family, is that they may realise they're in a bad family and have this access to exterior influences that makes them just as great a person to be in a relationship with you as someone who comes from a good family. And it's then more blurred lines. I do think that like if someone has got a bad family dynamic, there is something deep, like there's something deep rooted in there that isn't necessarily a bad thing for you, but is obviously a struggle for them and their family situation. So could maybe mean, is raising a family that person going to be something you trust? Like, is definitely.
Do you reckon there's a bias to it? This is quite a deep question, but if you're if you're in a family and everyone from the outside's like you're in a bad family, but you're delusional to the point where you believe you're in a good family, do you think that's something that happens?
What, that people are delusional whether or not they're in a good family?
They're adamant that they're in a good family, but everyone else is like, you're not.
I know people firsthand who admit they're in a shit family situation, and some people who say they're in a good one, and I, from my perspective, aren't.
Yeah, like you can be delusional in anything. If you're delusional, you're delusional. It doesn't matter what you're delusional about.
And it's hard to have an opinion, isn't it? If someone says they're from a good family, I had an ex who literally did that, and I was like, oh, but you don't. And it really bugged me when they speak about it, because I'm like, you don't know. Like, you have a really awful relationship, and I'd want to every now and then like drop hints, but I'm also like, who am I to come in and say you don't have a good relationship? If you think you've got a good one, good for you. But I also don't want you to be delusional because I care about you, and I want you to see reality. And I think seeing reality is a very important thing for everyone, whether it's good or bad. Sometimes you've got to be the voice of reality, which means hurting someone's feelings.
I think that's more important. Yeah, I think just speaking
it
truth
is, but
is way more important.
But how could you ever say it? Because no one would ever take you seriously, would they? They'd just be like, "Be telling me about my relationship with my dad."
Yeah, it has to be done the right way, and like not overstepping or like, like you say, if you met on the first day and it's like you don't have a good family, it's like, well, you might as well have just farted. So.
well, maybe that's a good way to round this off then, on like a little kind of like quick bullet point thing. To me, being delusional is an absolute no-go. If someone's delusional to me as a friendship, as a business partner, as a relationship, they're just not someone I can trust. Because if they can't trust themselves, don't understand their own abilities, they're never going to be useful to you. In my opinion, like delusional people, I've managed to eradicate quite a few of them. Don't want to ever have to cross them again. What about you? What's like your no-no?
I'd agree with that. I don't like delusion, but it's not their fault if they're delusional. So I've got sympathy towards it, but it's not something I'm willing to sacrifice my time for. Like I'm not going to overstep and be like, look, you're delusional.
You can't rationalise
this. No, some people just will never understand it, and that's completely fine. Like the ignorance is bliss in that sense. Like if
for them.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, some people. There's a point where like if you're not intelligent. Well, yeah, if you're not intelligent enough to realise that there are bigger things, the world will be you'll have a lovely life. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
Yeah.
What about you? Delusion? Well, no, not delusion, but what's your big no-no?
In relationships?
Yeah, tell me, I'll work on it.
Well, I think it's like not giving you the time of day. Like, not spending time, not caring at all. Like, that's just not a relationship, really. Like, when they just don't make an effort whatsoever, like...
Try and be more, like, specific on it. Because I agree.
Trying, but
if someone
like,
doesn't care about you, probably shouldn't be in a relationship.
Like, only thinking about, like, surface level of things.
Not being able to see parameters outside of their own kind of, like, picture. Yeah. I agree, it's a massive, massive thing. Yeah. I think that steps into delusion as well, where people think that their actions only affect them. Yeah. And they don't realise that their inactiveness can also have a huge ripple effects on people around them and a relationship. Yeah, definitely. What about you?
I mean, it's difficult going last because you guys have taken all the good ones. But I guess like not being able to look at like the bigger picture. Yeah. In a relationship, like not just being like why, like never questioning like why am I in this relationship, because like where it's going to end up and like how I see that and like what it means for my future and also your future. So like taking in like everything accountable for a relationship.
Yeah. It's a big commitment being in a relationship.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I know what you mean, like as in understanding that like by being in this relationship, there's a few things that you have to respect because I'm now codependent on you for certain things.
Yeah.
You have to respect that. And the same way you respect those same things. And you might differ on a few bits and that's always acceptable, but you're saying basically that if they can't see and understand them, then you're always going to be in trouble, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's scary to address these things for a lot of people because it means, things might have to change because it's easy to like know, I'm not in a good relationship, and then it's so easy to just do nothing about it. Like it's so easy.
I
for
think
people.
I think we all know someone who's like we all know someone who's a lot of these things. That's why we know them. That's why we're saying them. Like because we've either been ourselves or we know someone. And I think I know a hell of a lot of people who've got kids and they've been in relationships since they're in school. And I'm like, you are so bad for each other, and you're going to end up divorced parents one day. And that's not. I mean, amazing that you brought life into the world, and hopefully it doesn't mean that as divorced parents you can't be great parents, but it means for each other you've created this hostile situation where if you just kind of let yourself grow up a bit first, then make those big decisions, you'd maybe be all right. But
we actually did I don't know why this has only come to me now. We did a documentary where the husband was in a therapy session with his wife, and he came to the conclusion in front of his wife that he didn't love his wife and he never wanted kids, and he'd only just addressed it.
wow.
That's big.
That's like everything you want in an interview.
Literally.
Jesus Christ. He said he didn't want kids, didn't want a wife.
Yeah, he didn't love his wife and he never wanted kids, and she was just like, I can't believe you've said this. Like, why?
Do you know what? It's brutal and it's awful that he didn't act upon that way sooner. But also, maybe a massive relief for the wife to know that. I mean, we touched on this before we spoke about the podcast about lying in a relationship. If it's ever acceptable to lie, I think in that scenario, him lying and like protecting their feelings and his family, even though he would feel shit inside, may be the more selfless thing to do and be better for the family. But also by him being honest, maybe they're more free from his.
Yeah, it's turned out well. I say we made it. I had a very small part in it, but yeah, it turned out for the best for them, because like she's moved on with her life and he's moved on with his. So it was like it was worthwhile doing, but it was that initial. It should have just been right from the get-go. No, I shouldn't be in a relationship with you. Like, it should be something people should be constantly thinking about of, is this person the person I want to spend my life with? And then if it's not, it should be something that's addressed.
I think a relationship's an easy one to cut ties with and even have regret for and things like that. You should never regret anything, but I think it's easy to like, there's always an obvious path. I think the second you have kids, the second you've brought life into this world, you are responsible for that child, those small human beings. I do think I think relationship becomes this whole new breed of thing. But all right, just quickly, last one, then we will run off because this has become quite long for you guys. Thank you for watching. If you're still watching, lying.
We're just here talking to each other now. No one's watching.
Lying. Is it ever acceptable in a relationship? To any degree of lying. I think it is
very broad.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it?
Lying for joke purposes, yes. Lying about serious topics, no. Even to protect people's feelings, I don't think that's right. Lying, I guess that's it. So just lying in a jokey way.
So even not to protect someone's feelings. Like, what if, let's say, for example, like your girlfriend spent all day, I don't know, making herself look good, like doing, like cleaning the house, like cooking you tea, and you come home and it's all dog shit, and you're there and you've got the heart to turn around and be like, it's all wank. What about that as a scenario?
That's
delusion though. Like that would bug me in the long term.
Maybe in the long term, but in that moment there, do you just turn around and go, thank you so much, it's lovely?
I think I'd probably be quite honest if I'm honest with you.
But does that make you? It's difficult, isn't it? Cause
this is like where my head's at with the lying thing, because I think if you're gonna be honest, I do think there's being honest. If you want to be an honest person and a good person and a useful person to be around, you have to know when to be honest and when to like just not quite elaborate on the truth.
Yeah, I think the best thing in that scenario to do is maybe be like, "Thank you, it's great," and then the next day maybe be like, "It's just not working out."
Yeah, no, totally. Like, I know there's a right way to deal with it, but that to me that's still being honest. Like in the long run of things, like I wouldn't be mean about it, of course, but it's like. Honesty is really important. But then again, if it's something tiny, like it's
that you baked a cake and it was gross. You had to say it was nice.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Like there's definitely situations where
white lies,
it's a lot more beneficial to the relationship that you do just say, "Bob, you look beautiful. Like you look amazing. Let's go. Like let's go to this thing or whatever." Because
realistically, that's a lie.
No, it's not. It's not a lie. It's just like maybe she look better with a different hairstyle or with a different thing. But like there's sometimes. I mostly tell you, Bubba.
Oh, it's ended on a domestic.
I mostly tell you.
Your own doghouse, right?
Yeah, it's my house. It's not my house. But I do think lying is fully acceptable. Like to certain degrees, and I think it's always based off a consequential thing. Like, where's the consequence of that lie?
Like lying through omission, so which is, for those of you who don't know, which is basically when you don't tell the truth but you don't lie, so you just don't say anything. That's lying through omission. I think it's more okay than just straight out lying to someone. So if someone said, I can't think of an example, but if you just didn't tell them that it wasn't wrong, then...
I know what I mean, like, she makes food, it looks awful, but she looks great. And you go, oh, Baba, you look so beautiful as well, thank you so much. And you're just like...
Yeah, you're not saying the food's bad.
No, you just curved it,
Yeah.
and it's just there, it's like, you're going to eat that, but like,
because
she
it's a
feels
pointless
great
thing
about
to
I'm
be
gonna
like,
count
that's...
these things.
Yeah, that's why whenever I bring you any of my videos and I show you them and you just don't say anything, that's
Right.
what you're getting at. So you don't
Oh,
actually like
God.
them.
See, I do.
Shit.
See, I think you can clock that in people. I think there's like Connor Foley, the guy who lives here, absolute bell. Like, none of us really like him, but he's no joking. We love Connor, but he has a way of like telling you when he doesn't like something. He'll always go, oh really? Do you think that? Like, he won't ever go like, I don't actually like it. He'll go, oh really? Do you think that? Like, he'll say something like that, and there are people who do that. They won't just be like, some people. Robbie's quite good at going, don't like that, and you kind of like, oh, all right, fair play. But like, as in, I think there's people who know how to step around it, but will also not lie to you. They won't be
Connor's
like.
been rubbing off on me lately in that way, and he's been basically. I've started saying, "Oh really," which is
It's a new house thing.
which isn't me at all. Like, usually I try to be as polite as possible, but I just tell them how I'm feeling. Like, if someone asks me my opinion, I usually just tell them my opinion in like as clean a way as I can.
But sometimes the best way to understand opinions is to not give yours too thoroughly. I think sometimes it's good to be like, let's say someone brought something to you, you didn't like it, but if you just went, don't like it, you can kill any creative conversation.
You ask them why have you done this?
I think you just go, oh interesting. How come? Like, how come?
Yeah,
like,
asking questions is so important.
Yeah, or being like, I'm not too sure on it. What about this bit? Blah blah blah. Like, you can create a great environment by not being honest, and I think honesty and lying is so.
Yeah, that's what I mean by lying through omission, because you're not saying I don't like it, but you're learning way more about it.
Yeah.
It's definitely blurred that it's like you can't categorically say you can't lie.
Yeah.
Or you
I think
can
exactly.
lie.
I think being
Like,
cold-blooded truth to the penny is only going to be a hostile
That's quite
environment for
vicious.
someone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, it's definitely beneficial. Like, your accountant, let them be hostile and vicious. Let
It
them
also
be.
depends
to
on the
point.
environment, doesn't it? Because like in shit hot scenarios, like in the military, whatever, they'll be in situations where if they're asked the question, you need the answer. There's no like,
Yeah.
it's like, did you shoot that
Beating around
person?
the
It's
bush,
like,
yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? It's just, yeah, I shot them. You know.
Did I shoot him? Did I not?
Like there's a time and a place to have the line through omission. Like sometimes you just have to be. That's the truth.
And this is what's great about this podcast, man, because most people will be like, you can never lie in a relationship. Just keep their PC ratings up, do you know what I mean? Like, keep everyone loving them. But I think we're more than happy to say that lying in relationships is just as healthy as being honest. You definitely...
A time and a place.
There's definitely a time and place. There's a way to measure it. And again, experience and like life in general will give you an idea of when you should and shouldn't do these things. It just cut again right at the end of the video. But yeah, thank you for everyone who's watched. We're sorry if you were bored, but I mean, this is more of a thing for us as well. Like, we're just interested to talk and be able to document it because we can look back on it as well, and it's cool to watch back.
Yeah.
But make sure you subscribe if you want to see more. And in some of these podcasts as well, we'll be taking your ideas on board for the main videos, which we're excited about, and we'll be going live and like getting some of you to live call us and stuff, which I think will breed some very interesting scenarios for our videos, because you guys have much better ideas than we do. We think we're really great creatives, and we are to some extent, but you guys can
Don't
throw
lie
some
to
curveballs.
yourself.
That's true, don't lie, guys. Only lie in relationships. Joke. I don't know how far we can go with like making things
I
clear.
don't
in
know.
this, but
I think we should, when we're joking, we should be like, that was a joke.
that was a joke. Yeah, we
100%.
should just announce it. But yeah, no, this was a really cool thing. I think we're going to do this a lot, regardless of how many views they get and stuff. I think it's just cool to. It's like a therapy session.
Yeah.
It feels great.
I pay a lot more for my therapy sessions than I do for this. So.
Joke?
Right, anyway, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe, guys. Leave a comment for any other ideas for future podcasts. We want to take, like with this one, obviously we took relationships as the topic, but we want to pick some other things. We said talking about ghosts in one might be interesting.
Yeah,
spirituality
ghosts,
and
labels,
stuff.
etc.
There's definitely a good talk there. And we want to get you guys involved on the calls as well. But thank you for watching. And yeah, thank you guys. Have a wonderful evening. and we'll speak to you again soon.
Stay
See you in
tuned.
the next one.
Sorry, sorry.
Next one. So enthusiastic, Adam. Go on.
I thought I had a fart coming, but I need a shit.